Have you ever, received a text message from someone important to you and all it says is just, okay?
Oh, with a period at the end?
Yes. Just that one word with a period at the end. And I mean, within 5 seconds, your brain has somehow generated 10 different, completely catastrophic meanings for that single four-letter word.
It's immediate panic, yeah.
Completely. Or maybe you found yourself lying wide awake in bed at 2 in the morning, physically cringing over some slightly embarrassing conversation you had 5 years
No,
ago.
absolutely. An event that literally everyone else on the entire planet has completely forgotten.
But your brain has decided to, broadcast it in high definition like it's breaking
It
news.
is just a profoundly universal experience, and yet, I mean, when we are in the middle of it, we feel like we are the only ones whose minds are spiraling out of control, you know? We think our panic is uniquely ours.
We've all been there. So today we are doing a deep dive into the exact anatomy of an overthinking spiral.
Right, based on some really fascinating source material we've been
Yeah.
reviewing.
Exactly. We are going to uncover why our brains trap us in these endless mental loops, why this intense rumination is rarely the productive problem-solving tool we trick ourselves into believing it is, and most importantly, how to finally escape it.
Which is a part I think everyone is waiting for.
Totally. Okay, let's unpack this. Most of us secretly hold on to this belief that overthinking means we are just being careful.
Like it's a feature, not a bug.
Right. We think we're being highly intelligent. We tell ourselves that if we just analyze every possible angle, every single worst case scenario, we are guaranteed to make the quote unquote right choice.
But what if that whole premise is wrong?
Exactly. What if overthinking is actually just a trap that keeps us completely frozen?
Well, to answer that, we have to fundamentally redefine what we're doing when we overthink. We have to strip away the illusion of progress and recognize it for what it actually is.
Which is what.
It's a psychological response to fear. Consider this scenario from the research. A man gets a new job offer,
Mhm.
and on paper, it is an absolute dream. Better salary, nicer office, incredible growth potential.
So most people would celebrate and accept it immediately.
Right. But instead of celebrating, he spends an entire week completely agonizing over it.
I know people exactly like this.
He makes endless lists of pros and cons, spiraling into these wild worst-case scenarios. He starts asking himself, well, what if my new manager hates me? What if I completely fail and they fire me in a month?
What if I regret leaving my comfortable old job?
Exactly. Every single day, he is just inventing a brand new reason to delay the decision.
And did all that intense thinking make the decision any clearer for him?
Not at all. It actually made him infinitely more confused. The breakthrough only came when a friend sent him a text asking a very piercing question.
Oh, I love this part.
The friend asked, are you trying to make the perfect decision, or are you just afraid of making the wrong one?
Wow. That question really changes everything.
It does.
Because it reveals that overthinking is not a search for clarity at all. It is a desperate search for certainty. And, I mean, certainty almost never exists in the real world.
Right. What's fascinating here is the underlying neurological mechanism.
Yeah.
The human brain utterly despises uncertainty.
We just hate not knowing.
We really do.
Yeah.
We are essentially walking prediction machines. From a survival standpoint, an unpredictable environment is a dangerous environment.
That makes perfect sense.
So, when faced with an unknown, like a new job, the brain would much rather fabricate 20 imaginary detailed problems than simply sit in the void of the unknown.
So when you are overthinking, your brain is actively tricking you.
Completely. It gives you this sensation of being busy, of actively working on a problem, but you are completely stationary.
It makes me think about the crossroads analogy from the sources. Think about someone standing at a crossroads. They are standing there in the dirt, looking down every single road for hours.
Straining to see miles away.
Yeah, straining their eyes, but they never actually take a step. The roads don't change. The destination doesn't change. The only thing that changes is how incredibly exhausted they get just standing there.
It's a perfect visualization.
I mean, when was the last time worrying actually solved a problem for you, rather than just draining your energy before anything even happened?
Exactly. We drain our cognitive batteries trying to solve a puzzle that just doesn't actually have all its pieces yet. We are demanding data from the future that simply hasn't arrived.
But I have to ask, if overthinking is so draining and if it's so obviously unproductive when we step back and look at it rationally, why on earth is our brain hardwired to do it in the first place?
That's a great question.
Why does it feel like the default setting for so many of us?
Because, historically speaking, it was a wildly successful survival strategy. Thousands of years ago, Our ancestors survived specifically because they were constantly scanning the horizon for physical dangers.
Hmm.
If there was a rustle in the bushes or a dark, unfamiliar cave, the humans who stopped and overanalyzed every possible catastrophic outcome were the ones who stayed alive to pass on their genes.
So the optimistic humans who just confidently walked into the dark cave didn't survive.
Pretty much. They got eaten.
I completely see that, but our modern environment is drastically different. I mean, the threat isn't a predator in the bushes anymore.
Right.
Today's threat is a harmless email from a colleague, or a phone call you need to make, or the fear of choosing the wrong career path.
And that highlights the core malfunction.
Hmm.
Our brains haven't updated their software to distinguish between a physical, life or death threat and mere emotional discomfort.
Wow.
The brain treats a potential social judgment like, say, an awkward silence in a meeting exactly like a lurking predator.
Wait, really? Exactly the same.
Exactly the same. The amygdala, which is your brain's alarm system, detects the uncertainty of that quiet hallway and triggers a massive spike in cortisol and adrenaline.
It prepares your body to fight or flee.
Yes, even though the quote-unquote threat is just a perceived loss of social status.
Wait, but rationally, I know my boss isn't a tiger. I know a quiet hallway isn't going to physically kill me. So why does my logical brain get completely overpowered in that moment?
Because the amygdala is faster than the prefrontal cortex, which
Hmm.
is the part that handles your logic.
Oh, I see.
The alarm bells ring before the rational brain even has time to put its boots on. It hijacks your entire system.
That perfectly explains an anecdote from the material about someone who had to give a basic 15-minute presentation at work.
Oh, right, the presentation story.
Yeah. For 3 solid days before the event, their mind played a disaster movie on a loop. What if I forget everything? What if someone asks a question I don't know? What if everyone thinks I'm a fraud?
3 days of pure cortisol-fueled mental agony.
Yes. And what was the reality? Less than 5 seconds of real-world awkwardness where they stumbled over a single sentence, smiled, corrected themselves, and then everyone applauded.
It is the classic imbalance of overthinking. We suffer exponentially more in our imagination than we ever do in reality.
Fully.
And what's worse, the brain doesn't even stop when the event is over. It pivots to a psychological state called rumination.
Which is what exactly?
This is when your brain endlessly replays past events, searching for a solution to something that has already happened and just cannot be changed.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Think about rumination like sitting in a rocking chair. There is this constant, intense, exhausting motion, but you don't actually go anywhere.
You're just rocking back and forth.
Yeah, over the exact same piece of floor,
Yeah.
using up all this energy while remaining entirely stuck.
It creates the illusion of momentum.
Mm.
And, once you realize you are stuck in that rocking chair, your immediate instinct is probably to aggressively tell yourself to just stop thinking.
Oh, totally. Calm down. Don't worry about it. Just clear your mind. It's what our friends tell us to do, and it's what we command ourselves to do.
Which spectacularly backfires.
Every time.
Let's do a real-time experiment with you, the listener, right now. For the next 5 seconds, I want you to actively not think about a pink elephant.
Okay, I'm trying.
Do not imagine its large pink ears. Do not picture its pink trunk. Keep your mind completely free of any pink elephants.
I'm guessing everyone listening just conjured up a massive pink elephant in vivid detail.
Inevitably. This is known in psychology as the ironic process theory.
Ironic process theory.
Right. In order for your brain to ensure you are successfully avoiding a specific thought, it has to dedicate a subconscious monitoring system to actively look for that thought.
Wait, so to guarantee you aren't thinking of the pink elephant, a part of your brain must keep the concept of the pink elephant front and center.
Exactly. It's actively checking, are we thinking about the pink elephant? Better make sure the pink elephant is nowhere around.
It's like trying to suppress anxiety by shoving a beach ball underwater.
That's a great way to put it.
You can push it down, and you can hold it there temporarily using all your physical strength. But the second your focus slips or your arms get tired, that beach ball violently shoots right back up to the surface and hits you in the face.
This raises an important point about how we handle our internal dialogue. There is the crucial difference between fighting your thoughts and simply observing them.
Observing them.
Yeah. When you aggressively tell yourself, I need to stop worrying about my presentation, you are effectively shining a massive spotlight on the worry itself. You are signaling to your brain that this thought is incredibly important and dangerous.
If we can't force the thoughts to stop and suppressing them just makes them stronger, What on earth is the alternative? How do we take that spotlight away?
Well, you have to let them pass.
It helps me to think of the busy road analogy from the sources. Treat your thoughts like passing cars on a busy highway. Some are moving fast, some are slow, some are incredibly loud and obnoxious.
And when we overthink, we are essentially running into traffic and trying to jump into the passenger seat of every single car that drives by.
Yes. But the alternative is to just stay on the bench by the road. You don't have to jump into the car. You can just sit there and watch the thought drive past you and disappear into the distance.
That shift from passenger to observer is profound. Thoughts are just transient neurological events. They arrive, they stay for a moment, and they leave if we allow them to pass without intervening.
But I'll admit, staying on the bench is incredibly difficult when we hit the quote-unquote empty spaces of our day.
Ah, the empty spaces.
That's when overthinking strikes the hardest for me. I'm talking about when you're in the shower or lying in bed at night trying to sleep or mindlessly scrolling on your phone.
When you aren't actively engaged.
Right, you aren't doing anything demanding, and suddenly your brain actively invents these massive catastrophic fictions for you to worry about.
That happens because of a phenomenon related to predictive coding.
Okay, what's that?
The brain intensely dislikes empty space and unanswered questions. If there is a void of information, the brain panics and immediately fills in the blanks.
Like a movie screen suddenly going black.
Exactly. And because of that evolutionary bias we discussed earlier, the need to survive it almost always fills those blanks with the worst possible outcome to ensure you are prepared for potential danger.
The classic example of this from the deep dive is the boss ignoring you scenario. You are walking down the hallway, your boss walks right past you, and there are 5 seconds of absolute silence.
Just silence.
That is the only factual event that occurred. 5 seconds of silence. But by lunchtime, your brain, operating in that empty space of not knowing why they were quiet, has written, directed, and produced an entire fictional movie about how you are incompetent, everyone secretly hates you, and you were definitely getting fired on Friday.
It spirals so fast. And then at 2 p.m., the boss comes up and apologizes for not saying hello because they were rushing to an urgent meeting.
The fiction instantly evaporates because the facts finally arrived.
Right.
To combat this, I love this brilliantly practical tool mentioned in the text, the 2-column notebook method.
Well, that's a good one.
When you catch yourself spiraling, you literally draw a line down a piece of paper. On the left side, you write facts. On the right side, you write stories my mind is creating.
It forces you to look at how tiny the fact column is.
Exactly. Like, my boss was quiet compared to the massive right column of imaginary disasters.
It's an exercise in cognitive separation. Another method the source brings up is pause and notice.
How does that work?
Before you react to the spiral, you take one slow breath and ask yourself 3 grounding questions. What am I thinking right now? What emotion am I feeling? And crucially, is there any actual evidence that this thought is true?
Is there evidence? That's the key.
Because the mind treats imagination as reality until you force it to provide evidence. Shifting from the emotional passenger to the logical observer strips those fictional stories of their physiological power.
I'll play devil's advocate here, though.
Okay, let's hear it.
If I am in the middle of a full-blown panic about getting fired, drawing a line on a piece of paper or pausing to breathe sounds a little bit, I don't know, trivial. Does that actually short-circuit the panic?
Well, it doesn't instantly cure the feeling, but it engages the prefrontal cortex, the logical part of your brain we talked about earlier.
So you're forcing a shift in brain activity.
Yes. When you force yourself to write or categorize thoughts, you are literally diverting blood flow away from the panic center and toward the reasoning center. It is a biological interrupt.
Which is why we need more meaningful activities to fill those empty spaces. If your mind is busy learning a new skill or reading or creating something, it just doesn't have the bandwidth to invent fables.
True.
A busy mind isn't necessarily a productive mind, but a mind with genuine purpose has absolutely no room for imaginary fears.
That distinction between being mindlessly busy and being purposeful is vital, especially today, because we don't just invent stories in a vacuum. Our modern environment actively feeds our overthinking through sheer information overload.
The stats on this are wild. The average person today processes more information in a single day than our ancestors processed in several weeks.
It's overwhelming.
We are constantly drowning in notifications, opinions, and updates. And we aren't just consuming it passively, we are actively using it to evaluate our own self-worth.
Which leads directly into the social media comparison trap. We compare our complex, messy, everyday reality to someone else's heavily edited, highly polished highlight reel.
Yes, the highlight reel.
We don't see their bad days, their failures, or the very real anxieties they face.
I remember reading this anecdote in the material about a highly successful online influencer,
Mhm.
always smiling, constantly traveling the world, achieving these massive financial goals.
Everyone's jealous of them.
Right. But someone met them at a networking event, and within 10 minutes of talking privately in a corner, this incredibly successful influencer confessed that they had been struggling with debilitating anxiety for years.
Wow.
They only posted the tiny fragments of their life they were comfortable sharing.
What's fascinating here is how that false comparison creates total paralysis for the consumer. When you compare your life based on incomplete information, it generates envy.
And envy always creates an inward spiral of overthinking.
Exactly. Why am I not there yet? What is wrong with me? What am I missing? Curiosity, on the other hand, is outward looking. Curiosity asks, what can I learn from their journey?
I love that. Curiosity inspires action. Envy keeps you stuck in the rocking chair.
Beautifully said.
And getting stuck leads directly to analysis paralysis when we try to make decisions for ourselves. Consider the side business example. I've seen people spend 6 solid months buying online courses, reading business books, and watching endless interviews under the guise of quote-unquote learning.
Oh, this is so common.
But really, it's just sophisticated procrastination. It is an intellectual hiding place to avoid the deep fear of actually starting and potentially failing.
Because life fundamentally requires making choices with incomplete information. If you wait until you have 100% of the data to make a perfect choice, the opportunity will pass you by entirely.
There is this incredible, probing question from a mentor in the text that cuts right to the heart of this. Are you trying to be ready, or are you trying to be certain?
Because you will never be certain.
Never. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. You do not gain the confidence to ride a bike while standing next to it, analyzing the physics of the pedals and calculating the friction of the tires.
You never get on it.
Right. You get on the bike, you wobble, you probably fall down and scrape your knee, and the confidence catches up to your actions. Action has to come first.
Clarity comes after action, not before it. It is the friction of doing that provides the data your brain is looking for.
So, if we know that we need to act, how do we rewire this deeply ingrained habit of overthinking on a daily basis? The material outlines 4 very practical, actionable habits we can look at to quiet the mind.
Let's go through them.
Let's get into the mechanics. Habit 1 is to move your body. Now, again, pushing back slightly here, if I am agonizing over a major life decision, telling me to go take a 10-minute walk or, I don't know, dance in my kitchen feels like a temporary distraction at best.
I can see why it feels that way.
Yeah, how does moving actually fix an overthinking loop?
It goes back to the physiology of fear. When you overthink, your body is flooded with adrenaline that isn't being used. Overthinking thrives on physical stillness.
Oh, because your body thinks it's supposed to be running away.
Exactly. When you take a brisk walk or exercise, you are physically burning off that excess cortisol. Furthermore, it interrupts a brain network called the default mode network, which is highly active during rumination.
Interesting.
By demanding physical coordination, you shift your attention from imaginary future problems back into the physical present moment.
It makes perfect sense. You're giving the brain a physical task that overrides the mental loop.
Precisely.
Okay, habit 2 is to write it down. We touched on this with the 2-column method, but it goes deeper. When thoughts are just echoing around in your skull, they feel massive and unmanageable. It's like having an incredibly messy desk covered in hundreds of loose, chaotic papers.
It's overwhelming.
But writing your thoughts down acts as file folders.
Exactly. It's a matter of working memory capacity.
Yeah.
Your brain can really only hold about 4 to 7 pieces of information at once.
Wow, really? Only 4 to 7?
Yeah, so when you try to juggle 20 different worries, the brain panics. Externalizing those thoughts onto paper reduces the cognitive load. You look at the list and realize, oh, I only have 2 actual problems here that require a solution. The rest is just noise.
Habit 3 is all about energy management. Limit your daily decisions. The brain's cognitive energy is finite, very much like a smartphone battery.
It drains over time.
Right. Every single tiny choice you make throughout the day, what to eat for breakfast, what to wear, which deep dive to listen to, drains a little percentage of that battery.
This is known as decision fatigue, or ego depletion. As the day wears on and your battery drains, your brain literally loses its ability to regulate emotion and suppress anxiety.
That's why having a rigid morning routine or wearing similar clothes every day isn't boring. It is highly strategic.
You're saving your energy.
You are saving your precious mental battery for the decisions that actually matter, so you aren't completely depleted and prone to an overthinking spiral by 6 o'clock in the evening.
Exactly.
And finally, habit 4, relinquish control. We spend hours agonizing over the weather, the traffic, the economy, or what someone else is thinking about us, but we have to stop and aggressively ask, can I actually do something about this specific thing right now?
If the answer is no, worrying is completely futile. It is crucial to remember that overthinking is not a permanent, unchangeable personality trait.
It's just a habit.
It is simply a habit. And because it operates almost exclusively by obsessing over the past or projecting fear into the future, the ultimate antidote is anchoring yourself firmly in the present.
So, what does this all mean? It means you have to stop trying to pre-solve tomorrow's imaginary disasters. You focus entirely on the single, tiny, practical action you can take right now in this exact moment.
To help anchor that, there's a brilliant grounding exercise from the text we can actually do right now. It is called the 3-2-1 method, and it is a biological hack to pull you into the present.
Yes, let's do this together. If you are listening, wherever you are right now, unless you're driving, obviously.
Right, keep your eyes on the road.
Yeah, please do. But otherwise, take one slow, deep breath. Now, look around your environment and notice 3 specific things you can see. Just observe the color and the texture.
Just notice them.
Now, listen closely and notice 2 distinct things you can hear. Maybe the hum of a refrigerator or cars outside. And finally, notice one physical sensation, just the feeling of your feet on the floor or your breath moving in and out.
For those few seconds, you were not agonizing over the past and you were not dreading the future. You were fully present. And in the present, the mind is quiet.
Remember the river analogy. Your thoughts are just leaves floating by on the current of a river. You do not have to violently jump into the cold water to chase after every single leaf.
You can just sit quietly on the bank and watch them float past.
There is a powerful sentiment to keep in mind from all this. You don't have to believe everything you think.
It is incredibly liberating to realize that your brain will generate noise because that is its job. But you are the executive decision maker who chooses which noise to engage with.
So here is our call to action for you today. I want you to identify one specific situation in your life right now that you know you have been overthinking. Just one.
Keep it simple.
And I challenge you to take one small physical action today to break that cycle. Make the scary phone call, write the first messy sentence of that project, take the walk. Just break the stillness.
Because clarity will only arrive once you take that step.
I want to leave you with the final thought to mull over. If our brain's default evolutionary state is to just generate an endless, exhausting stream of protective, quote-unquote, noise to keep us safe from imaginary predators.
Which is exactly what it does.
Right. What if the ultimate goal of life isn't to forcefully silence your mind? What if the goal is simply to become an absolute master at deciding which of those noises is actually worth listening to? Think about that the next time you are lying awake at 2 a.m. or staring at a text message that just says, okay,